chaos reigns supreme. Seems like the perfect environment for a CatHerder. Hello everyone, Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends. We're here on my free-to-play account. I'm running a Clan Boss key, as you can see, but that's not really the important part here. We've got a bunch of news to drop, so I will be talking about some of this news. Some of this stuff I actually have visuals for, and some of it I'm just going to be talking about. But we have some of the event ideas of what's going to be going on for the new Chaos Awakes event. It will certainly be interesting to talk about that. We have new Fusion news. I want to go over the new Fusion kit as well. I think this new Fusion looks absolutely amazing, not going to lie. Just having had a chance to just get home from work and did just a few videos on that. Our other content creators do an absolute amazing job covering this stuff. So go check other folks out as well if you want to get a second opinion on this. In fact, I highly recommend, as much as you may like my opinion on any particular champion, get somebody else's opinion on it as well. Because sometimes I might miss something, or sometimes I might be a little too positive on something, and it's always nice to just get a balanced perspective on things. And in fact, I recommend that for a lot of stuff. That's why the raid community is so good. Just because I have an opinion, and just because I may have a correct opinion, doesn't mean I have the only valid opinion on a champion, on an idea, on a team. You know, it is what it is, and that's the way raid works. So, without further ado, let us hop in and take a look at this new Fusion champion. So we have Tholin Foulbeard, is a legendary force attack dwarf. That sounds like he's like a guardian of something or other. You have to keep him on a chain in front of a door or something like that. Beware attack dwarf. I certainly would love a sign, you know, maybe I can build a sign for that. That'd be kind of fun. Beware attack dwarf. He looks kind of cool. Obviously, I don't have the full visuals of him here, but he's got the big beard braid that they do. He's got the glowing eyes, and he's a redhead. So, you know, that's a dwarf for you. We'll see. Certainly, I'm sure he's not going to be particularly tall in stature because, again, dwarf. This also means that animations are unfortunately probably going to be a little bit slow, but let's actually focus on his kit, because I think his kit is actually going to be really useful to a lot of players, early, mid, and probably even late game as well. So first of all, he's got an AoE A1, so attacks all enemies. Before attacking, has a 25% chance placing a weaken debuff for 2 turns. That books up to a 50% chance. And a 50% chance of weaken for 2 turns on an A1 is actually pretty solid, especially if you can get him to do things like ally attack as well. So, you know, already good A1, but there's more, which is actually pretty cool. Has a 50% chance of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns if the target is a corrupted alliance, so undead, knights revs, demon spawn, and I'm missing one of them, but those 4 factions there. And Dark Elves. Dark Elves is the other corrupted one, that's right. Also a boss or a minion, which means that this will place weaken at a 50% rate, bookable to 75, on any boss out there whatsoever. Well, that's actually pretty good. Grants an extra turn if a weaken debuff is placed on all enemies by this skill. So, for example, he will get an extra turn if he's against the dragon. He will get an extra turn if he is against Hydra on that A1. If he lands weaken on every ability. And of course, against, you know, say the dragon, he's got a 75% chance, 80% if you get him sniper mastery, which sounds like it would be a very good mastery to get this dude. 80% chance of getting an extra turn in addition to placing weaken on the boss. Not too bad. Definitely a good A1 to start with. Again, we don't know multipliers on this, so who knows? He could be absolutely atrociously bad at doing damage. But so far, this looks like an interesting A1, and for a damage dealer, looks like it could be a lot of fun. Oops, I don't want to zoom out. There we go. The A2 here, Back to the Abyss. Attacks 1 enemy 2 times. So it's a single target, not that bad. 4-turn cooldown. Each hit will ignore 25% of the target's defense. If the target is a corrupted alliance or boss or minion, ignores 50% of the target's defense instead. Ignoring defense is one of the best ways to do damage in this game. So there's a good chance, especially considering this only has damage bonuses. So plus 20% extra damage means that he's probably a damage dealer, and he's probably going to hit really hard with this, one would hope. Ignoring 25 or 50% of a target's defense is a great way to boost the damage of this champion, especially if you can then get him in something that ignores defense from a set perspective. So you get an extra 25% from that, maybe 30%, maybe even 35%, depending on the set you put him in. And then you get him an extra 25% from Helm Smasher. He's ignoring over 75% of the damage of the defense, for example, that he's going to be hitting. That's huge. Pure damage is a great way to do damage, assuming his multipliers are even minorly reasonable. Finally, each hit decreases the target's attack by 5%, so he's going to slowly but surely whittle away the attack of people he's hitting, and it also increases his attack by 5%, stacks up to 50%. As a double hitter, it is 10 hit, so 10% attack and 10% for him attack. This is a very Harima-like ability. Harima does this based off of defense, which is also gross because she also becomes tankier as she does it. Obviously, he's not going to be tankier, but he's going to do more damage still every time he attacks once he gets this one in the books. So that's actually pretty amazing. That'll be good for killing Hydra heads occasionally. That will be good for rescuing eaten champions in Hydra. This will be good against some bosses where you can do direct single target damage. I think this is going to be a very good ability, and hopefully it'll hit it hard. Again, I don't know the multipliers, so there's going to be a lot of caveats on this of if his multipliers are absolute trash, this kit's not going to be that great. But so far, this is stacking up to be pretty amazing. Finally, his A3 here, Rabid Fury, attacks all enemies 2 times before attacking, places an increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. So it's a self-buff increase attack, and then attacks all enemies. For each critical hit landed on the first hit, increases the damage dealt on the second hit by 10%. Will ignore unkillable and shield buffs. That's really, really good. So that means that he will hit, ideally he crits on all 4 of them for a Hydra run, for example, and then does 140% damage on that second hit. What that also means is in Hard Spider, for people that are struggling for Hard Spider, for example, he will do an AoE hit that will hit all of the 10 spiderlings and the actual mama spider as well, and then do an additional 110% damage on that second hit, which hopefully will kill all the spiderlings. So I think he could be not necessarily a solo, although possibly a solo, but a very good team champion to add to your teams for a hard Spider if you're struggling with Hard Spider, for example. Now, I know Spider is not as good for endgame players as it used to be, but I know on my free-to-play, getting into Hard Spider would be better gear for me that would be very helpful, because right now I'm farming Spider 25, and I don't have the champions to get into Hard Spider yet. But overall, very good. 4-turn cooldown, bookable to 3-turn cooldown, so he's a 3-turn, and AoE on the A1. 2 different AoEs. Very, very good nuker. Looks like he has some use in Arena. I mean, even for 4-team Arena, that Rabid Fury's got some potential to hit really hard, particularly because he's a self-buffing champion, so that's good. Ignore, Unkillable, and Shield are very Arena-based things, so those are going to be very helpful as well. So, yeah, this champion looks like he should be good for a lot of stuff. And in fact, if you are really worried about the accuracy, you don't need accuracy because the A1's the only thing he's going to be landing on. And some of this cannot be resisted. So this weekend cannot be resisted by enemies of the Corrupted Alliance, bosses, or minions. So for actual bosses, he won't need it. So he won't need accuracy for the Hydra, which is great. In an arena, maybe you care about that, maybe you don't, and you just get some extra weekends out there in case they happen to land. So that'll also, however, save him from sheeping, so that's not too bad either. Finally, his passive activates his Demon Breaker, which is his A1, every 5th turn this champion takes. So this champion takes 5 turns, and then he gets an extra A1. And I'm actually kind of curious if that extra A1 can grant an extra turn if he lands a bunch of extra weekends on him. That could make this dude take a ton of extra turns. It means Relentless Gear may actually be an interesting option for him. It does mean that a 9-piece Merciless set would be amazing for him because you're going to get both the ability to get some of these extra skills off of cooldown, but you're also going to get a chance to get, extra ignore defense, and you're going to get a chance to get an extra turn, and you get the cooldowns. And then finally, enemies from the Corrupted Alliance, bosses, and minions cannot land a critical hit on this champion, which is going to be very powerful for PvE, because that is going to prevent him for, not PvE. So that's going to be very powerful for PvP, because in PvP, well, some of the best damage dealing and attack champions in the game are in the Corrupted Alliance. So that could be a lot of fun and could really throw off this, that'll help against voids. That's how good that is. And finally, it's got an ally attack in all battles by 30%. It's an aura. It's a decent aura. It's not the best aura out there, but it's actually fairly good for a legendary. So cannot complain there. This dude looks like an absolute beast. I can tell you right now, I have resources saved up on my free-to-play because I've been in save mode for the most part. So I will be going for him on my free-to-play. And I will absolutely be going for him on my main because I have more resources that I know what to do with on my main, which is absolutely great. So I am looking forward to getting this dude. He is a standard fusion, which means that you are not going to be able to save him in your vault for later, and there are going to be no fragments. That also means you're going to have to pay very close attention because there are rarely times where you can get an extra rare in these fusions. Quite often, the chance is if you do one of the shard opening events, specifically if you do whatever happens to be the sacred shard opening event for Summon Rush, there's a chance to get an extra epic, which means you can keep that extra epic. And I have no idea how good the epic is. Maybe the epic is good, maybe the epic is not. The last couple of fusions where we've had an epic, the epics have actually been fairly decent. Not like top tier amazing, but fairly decent. But there are also going to be some rares involved as well. So maybe if you miss it, you're certainly going to have to pull some mystery shards and possibly some regular ancient shards to possibly get the rare, assuming it's not a void rare. They also have generally tried to offer either a void rare or a void epic. And generally this has proven to be based off of what type of event is going to be the shard pull event during this fusion. If it is going to be a 2x ancients, for example, it will usually be a void rare. If it is going to be a 2x, sacreds, for example, it will often be a void epic, so that you cannot pull the epic from your sacred shards when you're pulling your sacred shards. So we'll see what happens. We don't know where things are going to line up. To be fair, I suspect we will have a 2x primal shard, honestly, coming this weekend, because it makes sense to have that, get that out of the way before we actually get into the next chapter. Plus, we do have a new, mythical coming down the valley soon. I would not be surprised if they do a 2x for mythicals first, and then do a 10x for that specific mythical after they do the 2x. But again, we'll see how Plarium plays it. This dude looks absolutely amazing. Once we learn how much damage he does, we'll certainly know a much better if he's going to be good or not. But he can increase his own attack by 50%. He has increased attack, the buff, on himself as well. And he takes a bunch of extra turns combined with just doing things extra. So he gets his A1 regularly extra. He gets some extra turns with it as well. Looks like he should be a very good champion. And for my free-to-play, I can tell you right now, he's going to make it on my dwarf team because he's going to be useful on that dwarf team. Now, he's not a support champion, which is what I really need on my Faction Wars team, but he'll help. He'll be very good for clearing the waves, so I can certainly clean up some of the floors that I'm struggling with a little bit. And to be fair, I don't even have 4 champions I'm really focused on using on my dwarf team. So this dude is one of my 5. Makes a lot of sense to me. Hey guys, Bront from the future here. I just want to let you know that in the video I mentioned that I did not know when the fusion was going to happen. Apparently I'm either dumb or I missed the fact that they did mention it will be on June 5th. So it is not coming this week. It's going to be next week, Thursday, is when that's going to start. So it is going to just miss the next CVC. That does mean that, who knows what we're going to have for shards this time, but it is going to be a summon rush first, and then it is going to be a champion chase second. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that, what type of rewards we have, as well as what type of champions there are in that particular event. So back to the video. One of the things that we're going to also have to deal with is the fact that we have the other events that are going on during this chaos event. Obviously, we are going to have the event dungeon, so make sure you are ready to farm the event dungeon. Pinpoint is amazing, and I think Pinpoint is going to change a lot of accounts for the better. I know on my free-to-play, it is still one of my go-tos for accessories. Whenever I can put Pinpoint accessories on a champion, it helps so much, both from a speed perspective and from an accuracy perspective, to where I've been able to make better builds in my account just because I have some Pinpoint. Now I'm running low on my Pinpoint because I've been using it an awful lot, and obviously you only get so much good stuff, especially when I was rarely farming stage higher than 19 for most of the event. But now that I can probably farm stage 20 on this account pretty easily, obviously it will depend on what the boss is made of and what we need for the boss. But hopefully, assuming I can continue to farm stage 20, and obviously my main, I should be able to farm stage 30. I just need to figure out a team. Well, that is going to help change the account for the better. We're going to have all kinds of good, accessories and, get some decent 5 and 6 star pieces of Pinpoint gear, both the regular gear as well as the accessories. And that's going to help the account a bit. The other thing that they're going to be doing is we have a special event where you can go and, basically do a special set of daily events, some of which will be one time, some of which will be repeatable. And basically, we as a community will have a chance to unlock bonuses and extra stuff for everyone else in the community. So there is a point limit to how many points you can personally earn. So if you choose to earn more points, it's not going to help you personally, but it will help the entire community. That said, one of the things that you'll be able to do is, as we continue to unlock better rewards, apparently that will actually affect multipliers, which will make it easier for people that might struggle otherwise to hit some of that top stuff. So, for example, my main will have events, and it might be something as simple as run dragon 5 times. Well, if that is a repeatable event, if I run 25's dragon, I get a bunch of points every time I complete all 5 of the dragon runs. Nice and easy. Now, will I need that on my main? Probably not. I will probably be able to do most of these things on my main fairly easily. I'll have the resources to do them, and I will be able to probably get the top event reward pretty easily. On my free-to-play, it might be a little more challenging, but on my free-to-play, apparently, as we continue to go up on the scale, we might get multipliers that will affect previous and current points. So, say I've earned 2,000 points, and then we get a multiplier of 1.2. Well, that suddenly means my points are 2,400. Well, that might make it that much easier for me to actually get to the points I need to get to on my free-to-play. So this is actually kind of a cool event that incentivizes everybody to play it, but also rewards the community, honestly, for whales that might choose to run something extra anyway because they have either the extra energy or it fits in with whatever they're going to be running in the first place. So while there won't be an individual benefit to some of the stuff, it does mean that players that spend a little bit of money and have no problem running extra things to help the community might get a chance to help the community an awful lot. There are some leaderboards for that as well, so it's to incentivize some of these whales to maybe spend these resources and get recognition from the community. And I think it's overall an interesting way to run an event like this. I think it'll work fairly well. I think it will end up being very inclusive, because ideally what should happen is accounts like mine that are active but not necessarily, top tier as far as what they can do, will be able to participate in the event, but not just participate in the event, but will also be able to continue to thrive in the event, because while they may not be able to earn all the points they need to by themselves, these multipliers may enable them to actually continue to get the top events because other people have done some of these events and helped them out. Plus, again, the more points the community gets as a whole, everyone gets better rewards. So I think this is actually kind of a cool community building event. I think it's going to be very good for the community, and I think it will be very interesting. So I don't know all the specific details because Plarium has not released those, at least not released them to the public. And unfortunately, I am not an official content creator, so I don't get the advanced slide deck ahead of time, which is why I don't have a slide deck here for this. Those are the events that we know about so far. We knew there was going to be a fusion. Well, we've got this dwarf as a fusion. We know we're going to have an event deck. Well, now we know that an event dungeon is going to be coming. We know the boss for the event dungeon. It's going to be the same boss that the new mythical that we are going to be able to pull from this event. So who knows? Maybe this event will actually start this weekend, and maybe the fusion will actually start Thursday or Friday. Generally, to be fair, when they announce a fusion this early, oftentimes the fusion does start on a Thursday or a Friday. So maybe look for it to start this Thursday and Friday. It'd actually be kind of interesting if it was the 2x primals this weekend. If not, I think we're due for 2x sacreds this weekend. I'm not sure. That's certainly going to be interesting for the summon rush later on if it's not 2x sacreds, but we'll see. It should be entertaining regardless. I know I'm probably a bunch of shards to pull, and hopefully we'll be able to get some cool stuff. And hopefully the events will actually be very easy to reach for people that are free-to-play accounts like mine, because that is the only thing I really do worry about with some of these fusions, is I know it can be a struggle for accounts to do these fusions. The last fusion, the fragment fusion, was super easy. I went in with a ton of gems. I didn't use most of those gems, and my account came out of it much for the better, having pulled some good champions from the shard pull events. And I've got Ishiyama, which will probably get pulled during the next Summon Rush event or during the next CVC, depending on whether or not I need the points for one or the other. Because he will definitely help my Shadowkin, because right now my Shadowkin are really bad. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this new dwarf. He is a good champion for what this account could use, which again is a good damage dealer, and I think he will be a good damage dealer in Hydra. I think he will be useful possibly in Hard Spider, and he will be very helpful for other factions and other areas as well, because he does have some multi-hits, and he's got some abilities to basically place some debuffs as well. And he's going to be immune to things like critical hits from some of these bosses as well. Should keep him alive easier, should help him, especially if he is weak affinity in some cases as well. So I'm looking forward to it. What do you guys think? Do you think this dwarf is going to be worth going? Do you think he looks like he's a very interesting champion? Are you excited so far for the Chaos Awakes event? Or do you think this is just kind of marketing and Plarium's trying to drum up some business? Or maybe you think it's a little bit of both. I would love to hear your thoughts on this new champion. I think he looks absolutely amazing without knowing the multipliers. So he could be better than I imagine with better multipliers than I imagine. He could be significantly worse with bad multipliers. I still think he'll be worth going for on my free-to-play. And honestly, I'm probably going to get him on my main anyway. So for me, it probably doesn't matter. But maybe for you, maybe if those multipliers are not too bad, maybe he becomes a good skip. But I think it's going to be really hard for Plarium to mess it up with a kit that looks like that kit that we got for him. So you guys hit that like button. You guys hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate it. You guys are absolutely amazing. Much love. And until the next video, I'm Bront.